Hi, I'm Louise, speech and language therapist, and in today's survival guide, I'm going to be talking about how best to talk to children about COVID-19. So the COVID-19 pandemic has turned all of our lives upside down. You as parents, your children's teachers and TAs, but also for your child. And it's understandable to want to protect children and not talk about things that are quite scary and might worry and frighten them. But they're going to be hearing about these things going on in conversations that they overhear, in talking to their friends, on social media and on television. So it's really important to talk to them about what's happening and answer their questions to help them feel less worried and to help them understand more of what's going on. Without having these conversations with them, they may be overhearing things, particularly words around illness and death, and not having their questions answered can make them feel much more worried about what's going on if they don't really fully understand it. The fact that this is an invisible bug makes it even more difficult for our children to understand because, again, it's abstract. It's not something we can see or touch. So the best way to help them to understand is to make it more visual. So when you're talking about COVID-19 and talking about the bug, you can draw an actual bug that's not scary, that can help you when you're talking about it, and making any advice or anything that you say as simple and concrete and as visual as possible. So photos of things that you're talking about or drawing things that you're talking about, just to make it much easier for your child to understand. And thinking about the germs and hand washing, an activity that can help with some children is doing some play with glitter. And you can talk about how bugs can get onto our hands, and thinking about the glitter and how easy it is to spread the glitter from our hands onto our clothes, onto our faces, onto the table, the sofa, everything around us. And you can talk about how some germs are good and some germs are bad, and that the COVID ones are bad and they can get everywhere, just like the glitter. But unlike the glitter, we can't see the germs from COVID. We need to make sure that we wash our hands to keep ourselves safe and to keep everyone around us safe. And you can also use our hand washing story, which we've produced, which is on the Parent Portal website, which talks about why we need to be regularly washing our hands, and uses pictures to help children understand the reasons for that and just reassure them. It's also really important that you encourage your children to ask questions about COVID, and try and answer those questions as much as you can. But you might not always know the answer. So if your child is asking, oh, when am I going to go back to school? Or when can I play football with my friends? At the moment, we just don't know the answers to those. So it's really important to maybe write those down somewhere, have a book that your child or yourself can write them in, and promise to come back to them and answer them when we do know the answers. And that can help your child feel that they're listened to, and those queries will be answered. And encouraging them to ask those questions can show you what right now is really important to your child, what they're focusing on and what they're worried about. So if they're asking lots of questions about when they'll see their friends again or when they'll see their family members, you can try and include activities during the week for them to make cards or draw pictures and then send them to friends and family, or schedule times to have FaceTime calls with people that are important to them. It's important to really try and focus on what everyone is doing to stay safe and the steps that we're taking to get through this, and reassure your child that they can ask you questions and talk to you if they feel worried about something, and that you'll talk about it and you'll work through it together.